November 3rd is an important day, election day, and many Americans are probably wondering, with the coronavirus, how can they vote safely? First, it's important to remember that each state and even each county and city might have different rules, but each state in particular has different rules around absentee voting, voting by mail, voting early in person, or on the day of the election. So, key thing to remember is know where you have to vote or how you can vote in your state.
Checking the rules in your county and coming up with a plan for voting is very important. If you can vote absentee, that's going to be the safest way to vote.
If you can vote by mail, it's highly encouraged, especially if you're in a high-risk population.
If you want to request an absentee ballot and you want to find out how to return that, you also need to check your county elections office. The rules for returning your absentee ballot are different in each state, but in-person voting is still critical for our election plans. Vote in person, voting early is an important option. There's likely to be less crowds during the early voting period as well. In a lot of places, polling locations have changed. There are locations that have been used in the past that aren't appropriate to use under pandemic situations. So you're going to want to check online if you're planning to vote in person.
The risk of getting to the polls and having an exposure to the coronavirus is almost the same as the risk of you getting the coronavirus by going to the grocery store. And I would just create a little kit, much like you might be doing if you're going outside to go get groceries or run an errand. Make sure you have a mask. Make sure it's a safe mask. You want a mask that covers your nose and mouth. You also want to make sure you have a little hand sanitizer or some antiseptic wipes so that you can wipe surfaces. You can wipe your hands frequently. And then I think it's always a good idea just to have a spare mask with you, because you never know if you touch one and you feel like it got dirty. And then some people might be asking if they should bring gloves. Gloves sometimes make people feel safe. But if you end up putting gloves on and then touching things and then touching your face, it actually is not safe. Make sure you bring your ID. Just in case you need a pen, bring your own pen or pencil. So what can you expect when you do go to vote?
If you're planning to vote in person, you can expect that your polling place may look a little different than in other years.
Whether it's early or on November 3rd. You can expect that there are going to be very clear signs about where you can enter and where you can exit, as well as some signs marking 6 feet of distance so that if you're waiting in lines, that you don't get close to anyone else. You can also expect that there should be multiple opportunities to both wash your hands or use hand sanitizer, and also ways to disinfect surfaces. In fact, kind of expect your poll workers to be almost treating the entire voting experience a little bit like a restaurant. If you see people get from one booth and then leave, there's going to be a poll worker who's going to be using sanitizer wipes to wipe down that station. You might also see plexiglass to minimize any potential contact.
You can expect poll workers to be wearing masks and some poll workers to be wearing face shields. Polling booths will be spaced out from each other.
If you need to show ID, that they're going to try to encourage a contactless way to do that. So you may have to hold your ID a certain way so that someone can see it, or there may be some other process so that they can check your ID without them touching it.
Voters are likely to see new poll workers this year. That always presents some challenges, potentially, people doing this for the first time, but please be patient. Poll workers are doing the best they can, and they're really heroes for our democracy this year.
The key here is to remember to be prepared, know where you have to vote, know how you can vote safely, but also be patient, because we're all struggling through this.